I'm Jerry Farmer, part of this large family here. I'm not the youngest, but next to the youngest. And such a blessing to be part of this family growing up. And you always had older brothers and sisters telling you what you had to do. And they still tell you what you need to do sometimes. So, but there's so many things. We grew up on a farm in Monarch, and we just had this normal life. We didn't know the hardships that we went through, but we always had a good time. Mom and Dad already provided for everything. But I remember one time we had to do our chores, and we didn't get our chores done, and always got in trouble. Mom would always say, "Wait till your dad gets home." Yeah. And that was the words you didn't want to hear, was wait till your dad gets home. And so, but we had parents already provided for us, and we had a good time, had a big garden, butchered hogs, milked cows, and I'm sure they'll get to tell their parts of it, but we were a very blessed family, and so thankful that we are still here, still alive. Mom and Dad done gone on to be with the Lord, and but we've been a blessed family. We're very large family, and I remember one time at a family reunion, there's like I don't know the number, Mom would tell us, and somebody may know it, but there's 160 something of us, and all the grandkids and great-grandkids and great-great-grandkids and in-laws and outlaws. But I remember one time Dad stood up and looked around at the family reunion. He goes, "Ma, we started this mess." And that's one of my favorite times that my dad had shared some things. And right before he passed, just a few hours before he passed, he was sharing some things, and it's really stuck with me because it was more spiritual. I'm a pastor, so I like to talk about the Lord. Yeah. And so Dad shared some things when he called us in, and he had a dream, and he talked about this big white Cadillac pulled up in the yard, and a guy got out with white hair, and his eyes were red as fire. And I knew who he was talking about according to scriptures. And Dad shared a lot. I don't have time to say it, but he ended this with me, this 12 hours before he went on home to be with the Lord. He shared this with me. He says, "The Lord is saying, son, that the signs are here, that the end is near. Have an ear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying." And so I really hung on to that. And I really appreciate this family, and I appreciate my parents, that we never went out with food, never went out with clothes, and as Carl was talking about earlier, the upstairs is hot, the upstairs is cold, and water would freeze in the room, but the upstairs was the place that we hung out. It wasn't a finished place, but that's where our bed was, the feather beds. And I don't know if any of you ever slept in feather beds and feather mattresses. That's the only way you can stay warm in the winter. And so we'd warm a towel on the stove and run upstairs and throw it back and lay the towel down and jump on it and pull it over us. And so, but it was a blessing to be with this family and be raised. So I'm thankful for that.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm the fourth one, which makes me the middle child of 7. And I always tell everybody that's what's wrong with me. I was the middle child. But anyway, you don't have enough time to hear all the stories that we got into. And I don't know if Eddie and Robbie remember this. We lived out on Grandpa Farmer's place where the golf cart course is now. And Howard got us in trouble. And Mom said, "Wait till Dad gets home." So in the old corn crib in the barn was cotton with the hull still on it. So this was Eddie's idea to stuff our pants with the... And so Dad made us sit through supper, and that was itching us to death. And then after we got done eating, he told us to go out back, and we did. He made us empty our drawers, and he gave us a whipping. I said, I'll never forget that. And but I can remember me and Eddie and Robbie getting into more stuff than anybody. And Mom always said, somebody asked her about how many kids she had. She goes, "I got 5 boys, a girl, and a tomboy." And the tomboy was me, and because I always chased after my brothers. And but I'm so thankful for the family we have, and thankful for Mom and Dad and how they brought us up. And Mom was raised really strict, stricter than they brought us up. And that's why I remember at the 4th of July picnic, Dad would sneak around and get on the dance platform. And so I don't know, we always went to church every time the door was open. And sometimes we resented that, but now I don't. And I remember when I got saved at Southside Baptist Church, and got baptized in Bear Creek by John Stratton. But you do that because of how Mom and Dad raised us, and to be, good, honest people. And like I said, I could go on about stories, especially with me and Eddie and Robbie, but I won't. But I truly appreciate every one of my brothers and my sister, and I love them dearly.
I'm Robert Farmer. I'm third in the row of the kids, and I'll have to kind of repeat what my brother said about my mother and dad. I'm just blessed that they was God-fearing parents. And one thing about Dad, he'd let you do something knowing it was going to be wrong, but he knew that you'd never forget that lesson. And this deal gathering here tonight, that's the picnic, that was a real big deal to Dad and the family. I don't think he may have missed but maybe one or two, and that was the end of his life. And it's changed to what it was back then. I was just talking to his brother a while ago. Mr. Kellogg, he used to come down and make sure the lights all worked and had 2 strands running across there. And get up there, the way he checked it, make sure it had electricity, he'd stick his finger in it. And that just amazed me that he'd do that. And that we're talking about appreciate the family, the kids. The most trouble I got into with this fella here. We got into plenty of it. Yeah, and different things that I know one time we wasn't very big. We was milking the cows. Seen a big old black snake crawling up the side of the barn. And he hollered to go get it. So I went down there and grabbed it by the tail, and I couldn't stop it. It was still going. So he come down there and grabbed it. We didn't just pull it right out. We had to work on it. Finally got it out. He was going to show me how uncles used to pop their heads off. He was going to show me how he'd do it, but the only thing wrong with it, that was a snake was 7 foot 4 inches long. So he swung her around. Of course, no bigger than he was. It took both hands. When he led up to pop it, they come around his neck. And I told him right there was a black snake stomp. He created it right there, boys. That's hollering, get it off of there. But we, like his brother said, we never wanted nothing. We enjoyed life. We didn't have a lot of toys and stuff, but we always found something. We wasn't too smart about some things. I know me and Eddie, we found an old elm tree, had a lot of poison ivy around it. And me and him was the only one that didn't catch poison ivy. So we done something, got in trouble, and Mom got after us. And so we run down there and got in that where we'd built, lined it with that poison ivy. We sat down there and laughed and everything. We thought it was real funny. In a couple of hours, we started getting hungry and realized what we was going to have to do. So there was another whooping right there. That's, like I say, I appreciate the big family we was in, because we always had somebody you could go to.
And it had a big, like you said, in the summertime, had a big garden. And had a garden, and we had a truck patch up in the corner. And when I went to school, everybody said, boy, we're glad to get out of school. I said, I wish we had school 12 months out of the year, because it ain't fun to get out in the summertime. You got to cut hay, work in the garden, and milk cows. And I always said it didn't matter what I'd done in life, I sure wasn't going to milk cows. it's 7 days a week. It's 365 days a year. You had to be there twice a day. And when we went to school, we had to get up at 4. But I'll never forget, Dad went to a sale over at Osage, and he bought a Surge milking machine. We milked them by hand till then. And we got in there, and he had an air compressor, had it all hooked up, and the first night was a disaster. We turned that on, and when that air compressor kicked on, about a half of them tore the stanchions down trying to get out. And it went on that way for 3 or 4 days before they ever settled down, but that was a blessing to have that, have a milking machine. So, but on the other days that we had to do, we had corn. He planted corn, and me and my brother, he said I got him in trouble. Dad sent us to look for a cow that had a calf. And it's cold, the wind was blowing. We got down the ditch, and we was going to build us up a fire to warm by. Well, we burned off 15 acres of corn. We couldn't outrun it. We about burned our britches legs up trying to get out of there, but we found the cow and calf. They run out in front of us. But we always had a bunch of trouble like that. Me and him, we get into it, all that. But you talking about toys we didn't have. We took a round part off a hub on a wagon. You all know what I'm talking about. It's about that wide and about that big around. And we got us a Prince Albert tobacco can, nail it on the stick. We take off down the dirt road, and rolling that thing, you had to run, keep up with it. But that's all we had. I bet we rode them things 10,000 miles probably. But we done that all the time. But no, we had when all of us got that, when we first had a table, we had a chair at each end and the benches down the side. And when it ain't like when my kids was growing up, they want to know, well, what you got to eat? Well, we got to eat, we want to know how much of it we could get. We weren't worried about what we had to eat. But when Mom hollered supper time or dinner time or breakfast time, if you waited around and do something else, when you got there, it just went around one time, and it was empty when it come back around the second time because you got 9 people sitting at the table. It don't take long to clean the grocery up, but everybody was always there on time. I mean, they just slid in place just like this. I mean, they're ready to eat. But I remember that because we never had to have to worry about ask what we had to eat or what or nothing like that. So. But no, we was a big family. We had a lot of fun. And talk about the 4th of July. The 3rd day of July, didn't matter what was going on, we dug potatoes. And my dad, he didn't plant 100 pounds. He planted 100 pounds of Pontiacs, 100 pounds of Kennebecks, and 100 pounds of Cobblers. I don't know how many truckloads, pickup loads we'd haul, but we had a hole, we had a big front porch. We put them in there and put straw over them, put lime over them, fill that thing up with potatoes. And we done that on the 3rd day of July before we come to picnic. But picnic time, we always come because Dad, like I said, he never missed one. But we had to pick blackberries to get our picnic money. It wouldn't be but $2 or $3 back then. $2 or $3 would buy quite a bit of stuff. But we had a lot of fun like that in the picnic we did. So, Hobart Risley, he was a mechanic. Me and my dad was his first cousin. My dad had an old car and it was missing and backfiring and doing everything. And he called Hobart, said, I need you to overhaul this car. So Hobart lived out here in the rock house just across from where Embry Rayleigh lives. And he said, well, raise the hood on it, and he raised the hood up there on it. And he took the breather and stuff off. Hobart said, I'll tell you what, he said, get me 3 little small, like a small Coke bottle for us. He said, get me 3 little bottles of cold water. So they got them. And he told Dad, said, you get in that car and start it and hold it about half throttle. And I don't know what, probably 10, 12, I don't know how old we were young anyway. Hobart, he got up there and he went to pouring that in, that cold water in that carburetor, and that thing was backfiring and popping and cracking and the white smoke, you couldn't see the car. And he just kept on, he poured all 3 of them in there, and in a few minutes that car leveled out, never missed a lick, and running smooth, and I bet there was a large bucket full of old black stuff come out the exhaust pipe. He said, Ray, I've overhauled your car. It's ready to go. He said, well, what'd you do? He said, I just put that cold water. It busted all the stuff off the valve, done a valve job on it. It did. It run good after that. That's why it done it. Cold water chipped all the carbon off everything, cleaned it up.
My name's Mark Farmer. I'm the youngest of the 7 kids. I saw many things that my older siblings done, and that's one reason I was pretty quiet, because I learned if I opened my mouth, then I had to own up to what I said. So there's many things that's happened between us 7 and the 7 kids, but there's on my recollection of some stories was the biggest one would be about me and Jerry and Howard. We all shared the same bedroom, and we got a hold of some rubber bands and would put between the forefinger and the thumb, and was shooting each other with paper wads. And it was dark, and each one of us was behind a bed or something, and Dad's crawled up the steps, the stairway, and snuck in there, and Howard thought it was me or Jerry, and nailed him with right between the eyes with the paper wads. But that was something that he laughed about quite a bit. That he enjoyed it in a sense that it was we got paddled for it, but it was in the way it was funny, and we all still talk about that and from time to time. That it is a blessing between that we have such a family that is we can always go, just like it's already been said, we can go to one or the other, and if we just need to have a sounding board. And that was something that I didn't do that much because I kept quiet. It's not that way anymore, but because I speak my mind now. You say I'm matured, but I learned more about the world and all on, I guess you could say, the way people would relate to each other. That was a close-knit, which this is a close-knit community. It could be, all of us could go on and on about things that happened here or at the picnic, but I love all my siblings, and I thank my parents for having such a grounded family, and said it ingrained us in all of us.
I'm the oldest. I'm Judy, and the littlest. I get that from my grandmother, Farmer. She was a Risley, and I'm just about the size that she was. And but like the rest of them, I'm thankful for the family we had and the raising we had, and things that went on. That we was talking this afternoon how strict Mom was and everything. I remember she would go upstairs and check under the mattress when she'd make the bed and get the boys' cards, throw them away, and they'd have to go find some more. Because that was a big no, 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 no. And dancing was her 2 main things. And we, of course, they've told you about Daddy, but he loved that jig dancing, and he could really do it good. And I don't. Some of you may remember the Dotsons, George and Amy Dotson, their daughter Aldine, and her family, Bill, and the 2 kids would always come back for the 4th, like a long time ago. A lot of people did. This is where they came and where they got to visit and hadn't seen each other for a long time. Well, Craig said one night, he says, "Come on, let's get there and dance." I said, "You know I can't do that. Mom will have a fit. She'll kill me." He said, "Well, let's go around here on the backside and she can't see us." I said, "Well, all right." Well, we kept on going, working around, and got right out there, right in front of her, of Mom and Aldine. So I heard about that. And but there's just lots of things. Of course, they all got into more stuff than I did. I remember Mama told me the night that I was married, that Dad said, "Well, I hope none of the rest of us give us any more trouble than she did." So I guess I was Miss Goody Two Shoes.
We call you Princess.
So Eddie and I started out the house going to Diamond City, there where you kind of go up the hill a little bit. That's where we started out, and then we went to Monarch and lived there in Grandpa and Grandma Magley's place a while, and then Grandpa and Grandma Farmer had a place across from where we lived there on the highway. He had bought a farm when they come back from Oklahoma, and that was their place. And so, of course, Grandpa got sick, and they moved to town, and we moved out there, and we milked cows out there and had the same garden and all the stuff that we had up there. And then from there, I guess the last time we moved, I think we did that twice, and the last time we moved, they stayed in where we're at now. And of course, Eddie and Mary got that house, and Mom and Dad built a new one on down the road from that. And so that's where we all ended up as most of the time, as all together, I'd say, because Eddie and I was the only two out there. And while we were out there, they had an old coop, and they'd been grocery shopping and come in from town, and Dad parked it there, and they had some candy, and it fell on the floorboard. Mom said that's what I was after. But anyway, they went ahead and went on in the house, and I took a little ride. When I got down on the floor, I kicked it out of gear, and it went down, just missed the pond, and I ended up on the floorboard. And they come out and the car was gone, and I was gone too, and they found it down there, and it's just a miracle it didn't end up in the pond. Yes, Daddy spent 15 years on the school board. Oh yeah, and I never will forget that. They would meet till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because Yelville Summit was trying to get in part of us or something, and we did not want to go to Yelville. We'd sit up waiting for Daddy to come. Did it happen? Did it happen? I said, I'm not going there. And one night they had the board meeting, and it was really late, and our baths was in the winter behind the wood stove in a wash tub, so Mom had to fix. The girls got to bathe first, and then the boys. Well, Rob was in the bathtub. She fixed chairs and towels so we couldn't see, and there was a loud noise at the back door. Rob said, "Did y'all hear that?" Mom said, "Yeah, be quiet." He said, "What am I supposed to do?" He was taking his bath. But no, he spent a lot of hours with the school and all the 15 years, and
I
he
could
put a lot
always
in.
tell when Dad was on the school board and when he wasn't with the
Yeah.
teachers.
Yep, it worked that way. And that was his last request. Last night he was with us. Mary was there, and they was talking about the school, and that was it. He said, "Y'all make sure that it continues," because he had spent many, many hours and days there.
Yes.
And the one thing I can remember about Dad was talking about going to church a lot. We did. Dad went, but Dad was up in his years when he accepted the Lord, and they was having a revival, and they came up to the house, and I went on in the bedroom. I knew what they came for, and I went on in there, and I was praying and listening. Pretty soon, he agreed. He said, yeah, he'd been thinking about it for a long time, so he accepted the Lord at home when they came to see him during that revival. And that's when Ralph Cook was pastor of Southside.
Well, here we are. We've been at the 4th of July picnic right here in Lead Hill, Arkansas. This is actually July the 1st, isn't it, sweetheart? July the 1st, 2022. And this is the Farmer family with Eddie in charge, I'm sure. We found that out early. But we've had a wonderful time here. Hope you've enjoyed the Farmer family. And we'll look forward to the next time we meet you at the July the 4th picnic right here in Lead Hill, Arkansas.